Rachel, and this is Lunabird Book Club. This is the second in my Rachel Reads the Licanius series. I've actually been sitting on this footage since March because I just haven't made the video. And I'm about to start book number 3 and figured this was as good a time as any. Also, full disclosure, I pronounced James Islington's name incorrectly throughout the video because I didn't realise that I was pronouncing it incorrectly. But I now know that it's James Islington, not James Islington. I just thought you should know that I do know that.
Things that I would like to see are more of the king, Malshash's backstory and whether he is Davian or Kden. I would also like to know more about Tol Shen. I'd like to know more about the lore in general, to be honest, more about the creatures, more about the history. I can't decide whether Weary is going to find out that his dad was fake this whole time or not. I don't know. Is Kden going to completely retract himself from society, or is he actually going to stay with his friends? We started off with a little bit of a recap of the first novel and some of the history that came before that, and I feel personally that this provided a bit of context that I was possibly lacking from my own reading of the first book. I've also read the prologue where Kden is with Adar, is that his name? Shenalak, something like that, trying to get his memories back, and the very first thing that we read was a memory of someone talking about El, so I think that confirms that Kden is Malshash's Orkhan-Deved, even though I thought Davian was Malshash was Orkhan-Deved. But I'm happy to release that into the pool of incorrect theories and move forward knowing that 4 people are all the same person as opposed to 3 people being the same person and 2 people being the same person. That's fine. I am 10 chapters into Licanius 2. Kden is learning things, but Malshash's dead wife El has appeared and has killed Asar with Licanius, and Licanius is going to be used to seal the rift, which is something to do with Shamuelef and El, who might be the same person or might be the opposite way around. I don't really know. Davian is in Tol Shen, failing to cooperate with the council. He went right up behind the leader of the council and was like, "I don't need to threaten you," right in his ear, and I thought, that feels like a mistake, but I don't know, he's just a kid, isn't he? He's just actually been bonked on the head in an alley, which doesn't look good, but I don't know who that could be. Are they ogre? Well, one of them is an ogre because they're controlling someone. Are they both ogres? Is it anything to do with Fessy and Eren? Eren's good at controlling people. We have strong evidence of that. Asher has gone into the catacombs, followed some creepy little child being possessed by an empty echo being possessed in the body of a child, and is now lost down there and is waiting until someone else goes past. Like, girl, no, that's so stupid. And I get it, you know, she's a fantasy protagonist and is probably going to learn a lot of cool things, but could you make a more foolish decision? No. She's working with Terrace. We haven't seen Terrace a lot, which makes me sad. I'm sure that's going to be an exciting storyline. Also, she saw a Shatath talking to a woman who put her hand in the massive pillar of essence in the catacombs, and it did not kill her. Is she a Venerate? I'm assuming so. Is Silaya? The boundary is weakening even further, and they only need to get one more before it breaks completely. One more what? I don't know. A person? An object? A token that belongs to Talcomor? Weir has also narrowly avoided an assassination attempt because Andin, his bodyguard, is the coolest guy in town. He bullies Weir about the girl that he fancies, and then he steps in front of an arrow for him. Like, beautiful. Next 10 chapters are done, which took me considerably longer than the first 10 chapters, but it is what it is. So Kden is letting people out of spiky balls, but they're not actually balls, they're wolf's heads, which I did not pick up when we were first introduced to the first one that had Meldeer in. So these are things that are fueling the boundary by draining essence out of people, by stabbing them with lots of spikes. And we learned previously that there was only one left about something to do with the boundary. So now that Kden has let Meldeer out of his spiky ball, does that mean that the boundary is gone? I think I am enjoying Kden's chapters, but I do feel that obviously it's more about character backstory than any plot, and I am missing the pacing that the first novel had. Because in the first novel, it was just an endless barrage of bad events happening to the characters, and this one is a lot more slow. I'm confused as to how Isildur was in this spooky place with Kden, but also with Asha at the same time. Is the sword that Asha had the sword that Isildur is attacking Kden with? Because I thought in the first novel, I feel like the plot arcs were running concurrently, but now I feel like they're mixed up maybe, and I don't really know. And speaking of Asha, she killed a Shatath who told Isildur not to kill him because there was something to do with a meld, and I think that's what is happening between Terrace and Davian, because I'm 100% convinced that Terrace is becoming a Shatath. Davian has met an incredibly distasteful ogre called Rohin who's like compelling people. Like this boy needs to get his comeuppance, whatever form that may take. Weir also got attacked by some assassins who were administrators that didn't have administrator marks. So they're not bound by the laws of administrators, just by the magical bindings of the administrators. It's all too confusing. I don't understand anything anymore. Also, Brashada rocked back up and is now a gifted. And did that happen when the tenets were rewritten, or when the boundary came down? Weir is currently at home with his mum. No, he's just left his home because his mum was mean to him. And there's something weird going on there, but I don't know what. Is the person who is controlling the king moving onto his mum? I want to know more about the king. I haven't seen a lot of him, and that was one of my desires. So I'd like to see more of him, please, James. Thanks.
I finished chapter 30. I feel like the past 10 chapters have been good chapters. Not that the chapters before weren't good chapters, but I feel like things are now happening. Ishelle died in the last chapter that I've just read. But did she really die? Because Davian's like brought her back to life. But has he? Or is she an echo? Or is she something like Nethgala that Malshash did to his dead wife? I'm also no longer convinced that Malshash is definitely Kden, because what if it is Davian? Or what if Davian is Kden? I'm never going to understand this until I have finished book 3. Do you know who else died? Andin. Why are the best? Why? Because he was great. All he did was bully Weir. That wasn't all he did. He actually just protected Weir, and he only bullied him a little bit, but he didn't deserve to have his head exploded. Deldry, Weir's little sister, also got hurt and didn't get hurt. He got killed. I think that Weir is going to think it's Kden's fault because if Solaria came to find Kden, oh, she's dead too. I think she got stabbed by a flashy knife. So I don't really know what this means for Weir and Kden's friendship going forward, because if Deldry is a fatality or a bad casualty, that's not great, is it? And I think Weir will blame Kden for that. And what will this mean for Caroline and Kden if her cousin was hurt because of him? I don't think she's going to blame Kden. Kden thinks that Nethgala is going to come and kill Caroline and take her personality. But do we actually think that's possible? Because Malshash said that he got his shape-shifting ability from Nethgala. And has that already happened? Or will that happen in the future and then Malshash will go back in time? I don't know. Time travel makes everything so complicated. And is Malshash even Kden? Is Malshash future Kden or past Kden? And what if it's future Kden? That's really sad because he's going back in time and he's not with his friends anymore. But I just don't know the order of events. And even if I knew the order of events, Kden doesn't know the order of events, which is why he's stressed about this. Davian has got his foretelling back, and he thinks it's because he went in that room in Tol Shen. Maybe it's because the boundaries come down. Asha is going north with Brashada. I feel like they're going to have a lot of petty arguments, and I'm looking forward to that. I also feel like Fessy should have been allowed to kill Rohin, because
that guy wasn't a good guy. And I know that the death penalty is perhaps not something that I should be advocating for, but this is a fantasy novel and people need to face consequences. Weir, in his chapters, has started reading the book that his father wrote, and I am loving it because I was very attached to Elocian in book 1. I don't know if you noticed that or not, and I would love to know more about him. The way that Elocian's thoughts are presented in this little personal journal feels contrary to the Elocian who was out here killing 8-year-olds, which is something I am curious about. How did he go from not really liking the ogres to absolutely detesting them? Because I suppose he doesn't remember this, does he? I don't really care about the children, I just care about the adults. I've just finished chapter 40, which is the chapter where Kden has the memory about being spoken to by El or Shamo Aleph. I don't know which one it is. I don't know if they're the same thing. I don't know if I just don't know. Part of me thinks that Shamo Aleph is captured but is able to like send out part of himself, and that is the El. Thinking about letters again. But I don't know. I don't know if El is the one who is captured and Shamo Aleph is out in the world, or if Shamo Aleph is the one that is captured and El is out of the world and there's like a confusion there. I'm not sure. But I went back and I reread the prologue of the first book because of the last chapter that I've just read. And because obviously on the first read, it's two separate men speaking to each other. But then when I reread it after the first book, obviously it was Kden talking to him. Well, it was Talcamore talking to himself as Orkin Defed. But then when I went back to read it this time, maybe he's talking to a bigger entity, a god, Shamo Aleph or El, and he's talking about how El, this entity that has been working in the Venerates' lives for so long, is actually a lie and is actually Shamo Aleph and is trying to get them to free them. Maybe Asher got thrown off a bridge by a big snake creature but survived because, get this guys, Shadow was Nethgala the whole time. I'm quite sad about that because I was excited for a female character who wasn't a love interest. Caroline, for all that she's one of the most important people in the kingdom politically, as heir to the throne, all she's done this book is smile at Kden and make him feel better about himself. And Desia, who is a warrior in her own right and can like shoot a bow and arrow, hasn't done any of that this book. All she's done is tease Weir about being the newest bachelor in town. I'm a little disappointed that this character never actually got much chance to explore the interesting path of being a Gilshar that became gifted. Do you know what? I feel like Asher is the only character that I actually respect, because she's just been hit with this information that she's going to have to go into a spiky bowl and sacrifice herself for the rest of time to keep the boundary up, and she's just going along with it. Obviously Davian isn't going to be happy about the girl that he fancies going into a spiky bowl for the rest of time, so he's gonna bring the boundary down and they're gonna fight the creatures. Who do the creatures belong to? I don't know. Shamo Aleph? Is Weir going to stay the North Warden? I'm not sure. Is it his role as North Warden that means he can control people with his little oath stone, or is it his Telandras bloodline? Would Deldry or Carolina be able to use the stone as well? Kden has freed the Lith from Rescartha, and I'm a bit disappointed that I didn't get that right, because I thought that this book would be about the boundary and the next book would be about the Lith, but really the Lith weren't actually that difficult to bypass. I have just finished the book, so the last 10 chapters felt quite forced at times, and I don't know if that's because the enemy that Talcamore is fighting is fate itself, or if it is just a bit forced. It felt very much like these things had to happen to set up bigger plot points at times, which is fine. Obviously that's the way that all story writing works, but I don't know, sometimes it just felt a bit heavy-handed. I'm reeling over the fact that Kden killed Davian and then put his head on the archway in Delanus. And that is the head that they all saw in book 1. As the head that was mentioned in the prologue of book 1. And now I need to like try and work out the timeline of the memories that we have been granted access to. Asha has all of my respect. Like, she just has accepted what needs to happen. Amazing. Love her for it. Fessy just straight up abandoned Davian. Mad respect for a girl who is looking out for herself. Weir's mum got stabbed in front of him. Just like his father got stabbed in front of him. And this makes me feel like next book, maybe Deldry will get stabbed in front of him and complete the trifecta of traumatic family stabbing deaths for Weir to witness. I feel like the Lith really were very underwhelming. I don't think we've seen the last of them. So yeah, I guess those are my predictions for book 2, that the Lith will have more to do. Deldry will get stabbed in front of Weir. I enjoyed learning about Elosian in this book. I feel like we didn't see enough of the king. I feel like Andin did not deserve to die, especially in the way that he did. And I feel like a lot of the women need to have more of their own power. Like, mad respect for Fessy, noping out. Love that. Still haven't found out about Taeris and Davian's past. Frustrating. Did find out that Layman was a guy who made the Shatath. And who is the third person that has Jakarith's memories in him? Anyway, I'm excited to read book 4. I think book 2 was weaker than book 1, but I'm invested.
Thank you for watching. Here at Lunabird we release videos every Friday, but next week, as it's the first weekend of October, we'll be releasing 2 videos, one on Friday, one on Saturday. Those are our monthly wrap-up videos. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you then. Bye!
Who is unattached to a man? Nobody. Nobody at all. I have nothing else to say about Weir. Sorry, Weir.
Rip Andin. I miss that guy.
Something about something.